So last year, I tried to ride a bicycle across Japan. We got pretty far. I think we did about 900 miles throughout the country. And this April, I was like, you know what? Let's go back and finish the bike ride. So I get a plane ticket, fly back, get my bike ready, go to the exact spot where we finished last year. And I start biking. And basically 24 hours into the trip, I am going through a crosswalk. The car to the left, he's just not really paying attention and he's just blowing through. So he's going pretty fast, like 50 miles an hour. He comes, and he basically, luckily, hits my front tire and not me head on as I'm going through the crosswalk. And I go flying. I fly about 12 feet. So I just remember hearing the screeching and then the impact, and then everything else just kind of went blank. I was just on the ground. Yeah, I was in a lot of pain. It was not fun. The driver is in a lot of shock. He comes out, he starts yelling at me, "Get off the road, get off the road." And I'm like, should I? But like my hand hurts, my shoulder hurts. I was like, man, my water bottle exploded behind me too. My neck is super sore. I get up to look at like what's behind me, and it's just blood. Like my head is bleeding. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna lay down. I'm not gonna deal with this. This is way too much for me to handle. So eventually an ambulance will come. So I just laid back down and just ignored him yelling at me. So ambulance finally comes. They scoop me up. They grab me. I'm in the ambulance. They take me to the hospital. At this point, I'm trying to figure out, like, am I dead? Am I alive? Did I wake up in an isekai? What is going on? And I asked the driver, I'm like, hey, with the limited language I know, limited Japanese I know, I'm trying to talk to him. I'm like, am I gonna die? Like, what's happening? How bad is this? And then he's like, okay!
未来のことも思っちゃダメ。大丈夫かな？ああ、不安になってくるでしょ。ならば、一生懸命、一つのところに命をかける。そうだ。今ここを生きていけば、みんな生き生きするぞ。
That was pretty funny to me. Like, you're gonna be okay. So I was like, all right, we're not dead. That's a huge relief. Truck-kun managed not to kill me. I get to the hospital, and then all these people rush over to me. They start doing like dozens of tests. They're like scanning my heart, making sure like it's still beating okay. They're checking my internal organs. They start doing like a full body examination. They do x-rays of everything, a brain scan, and they're like, okay, you're not gonna die. So I was really, really relieved that it wasn't like anything really bad where my spine is messed up and I'm paralyzed, or I have like permanent brain damage or something wild. Basically what happened is I broke my left hand right over here, the third metacarpal, broke that in 3 places. I broke my right shoulder. I had a grade 5 clavicle dislocation. A few other things wrong with my shoulder. That was the main thing. My collarbone basically came all the way out. So that got ripped out from the accident. I had a left ankle injury, and then I hurt my right knee too, and then the right side of my head. So a whole bunch of injuries. Really a mess. Okay, so eventually the police come, and this is a very important point for you to remember. The police come up to me. I'm trying to limit what I say to them because I don't speak Japanese, they don't speak English. I have like so many injuries, I don't really know what's going on. So I'm trying to like keep it really minimal. So remember this point. I told them 3 things. I gave them my name, my passport, and my phone number. That's all I gave them. I called the US Embassy because I'm like, hey, I need some help. They were really useless. They gave me a list of lawyers and translators to talk to, and I'm like, I'm in really bad shape. Can you guys help me? I call Amex Insurance Company, which is basically my travel insurance company. I'm like, can you guys help me at all about this nightmare of a situation? And they're like, we can help you like repay off the bills after you pay for them. And I'm like, do you know of any hospitals I should go to? Like, how do I handle the situation? And they basically didn't help at all. So that was a nightmare. So yeah, back to my injuries. I have all these things that are wrong with me. And I'm talking to the doctors, and they're like, okay, you should be okay, but you need to have surgery as soon as possible, like within a week. Because if you wait too long, what's gonna happen is your bones are gonna start healing the wrong way, and your shoulders gonna start healing the wrong way, and you're basically gonna be permanently disabled. And you really don't want that, so I wanna have like full function of my body. So he said, make sure you get surgery as soon as possible. So something we're gonna be talking about is that there were so many things wrong with the timing of this accident. This was right before something called Golden Week, which is basically the Japanese version of Christmas. So all the English-speaking hospitals were completely booked. They were at like half capacity, so they couldn't really take me. The insurance agent of the guy that hit me, he came up to me, said hi, and this was so weird. He had this giant textbook with basically every single possible traffic situation. And he's like, you're on page like 384, this is what happened. And he's like, our driver is 85% responsible, and you're 15% responsible. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't have time to deal with this right now, I need to get this surgery. I start looking for like a hospital that can take me because I need surgery fast. Basically all these places are closed. I'm just wandering around trying to find a spot. I eventually find one hospital that's willing to do surgery on me, and I'm like, okay, great. So I show up there. This place is out of like the 1940s. It is so old. I go inside, I'm like, all right, let me try to like stay a little bit optimistic. The walls are just covered in files, just papers everywhere, so disorganized. There's broken cabinets. I'm trying to stay optimistic because I really need the surgery. So I go to meet the surgeon. The surgeon is about like in his late 80s. He's a really old guy. So I'm still trying to stay optimistic, but I'm like, there's no way this guy has like the latest technology or the latest like techniques on how to like fix the body. So I am stressed. And the straw that really broke the camel's back, the point where I was like really starting to stress out, is I started talking to the nurse, and he starts telling me like, hey, when you get surgery here, you cannot leave, you cannot use your phone, there is no Wi-Fi, you are not allowed to have visitors. He's basically telling me I'm a prisoner. And then he starts going on a rant where he starts talking about you have to go across town before surgery and you need to buy these special COVID masks and you need to bring them back and you have to wear these masks or else we're not going to do surgery on you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Why don't you just have these stocked? Why don't you just send a guy to go buy like 50 boxes and bring them back? So I am stressed. This place is a mess. I look at Google reviews. It has like a 2.2 out of 5. So not the best thing to see before they cut you open. So I realized, okay, there's no way I can do this. I can't do surgery here. So a good question you're probably asking is, hey, why don't you just come back to America and get surgery in the US? Really good question. So the problem is I was switching health insurance policies right before I left, and I had 6 weeks where I didn't have health insurance. And if I came back to the United States, I would basically have to pay like $200,000 for all these surgeries. And that's $200,000 that I do not have. So I can't come back to America, really. So I started to talk to my family. I'm like, what do I do? I talked to my uncle. So I basically talked to my uncle, and he's an executive over there in Pakistan, and says that he knows a surgeon that can operate on me fast. And time is ticking. We're on day like 5 by now. And I'm just like, you know what? Let's just go for it. So I just get on a flight, leave everything. I ditch everything I don't need except for my backpack, my passport, like a few pairs of clothes. My laptop's broken, my camera's busted. I just go for it. Get there. Within 48 hours, I managed to get the surgery. It was only about $10,000 instead of the huge medical bill I would have had in the United States. And yeah, about after a month and a half, I fly back. There are so many parts of the story I'm skipping over. But yeah, talk about a mess. Yeah, my body was in a really horrible state, like a left hand that's broken, a right shoulder, left ankle, right knee. I remember at one point, I dropped my cell phone in the bathroom of the Japanese hospital. And I literally stood there for about 30 or 40 minutes just trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I pick this up? And then eventually a guy walked in the bathroom and I like pointed at my phone with like my broken hand. I'm like, can you pick that up? I'm trying to talk to him and he just notices what I need. He hands me my phone. But I remember I was like, man, my body is in such a horrible spot. Honestly, everything felt like a nightmare. I had no agency at all, no control over what's going on. Like a leaf in the wind blowing around. I really need medical advice, so I start calling some of my med school friends, explaining to them what happened, and almost all of them basically told me they were too busy, they wouldn't pick up their phones, they really didn't care. A lot of my friends, I was really surprised by this, they just didn't really want to talk to me during this. And I really needed advice because I'm like, well, what do I do? Like, a lot of people really left me at that point. The embassy didn't really care, my insurance company didn't really care. The police also really didn't care because later on I eventually got a hold of the police report. And this is so insane. In the police report, they don't talk about the car that's on the right that stopped for me. They made up a fake quote about me. They just said, I said, that I did not look left or right. I just went for it and got hit by a car. And the other driver, he hit his brake responsibly and still hit me. So they kind of blamed it a lot on me. And I didn't really have a chance to communicate my side or really do anything. So it was a huge mess. They basically lied, and their insurance company wouldn't really cover a lot of the damages that I had. So I'm trying to get that sorted out. Still a huge mess, but the Japanese police really failed me. I remember at one point I almost lost my mind. It was about 3 weeks after the surgery in Karachi, and I had a broken hand and broken shoulder, a little bit of context for the story, and I was just coughing a lot because of all the pollution in the city. This is one of the most polluted cities in the world, basically. And there's so much pollution in my apartment and in the room I'm staying that I'm just coughing and coughing and coughing and coughing, and I can't stop coughing. And it's not like I can open up a window because the pollution is coming from the outside. So there's nowhere for me to go to really like get a breath of fresh air. So I was just coughing like crazy. And every time I'm coughing, I feel my shoulder like it's about to dislocate. And I really cannot have it dislocate because like, how are they gonna force it back in? I have like scars everywhere. I just had surgery. So I'm desperately trying to hold on to my shoulder with my other hand, but this hand is broken, So I'm just like holding onto it with my wrist, and I'm just coughing and coughing, and then eventually it stops. But I remember at that point, I'm like, I would give anything to make this stop. But there was nothing I could do. I just had to like keep pushing through. Let's talk about some of the good stuff to this, all the lessons I learned. You know, I really came to Japan with a dream. I really wanted to lose weight. I was talking about that in the video right before I got hit. How I came here and I wanted to lose weight and really transform myself with all the biking. And I really wanted to do calisthenics and boxing. And these injuries, left hand, right shoulder, left ankle, right knee, like what a horrible combination for a boxer. So I was really stressed. I'm like, am I actually gonna be able to get better? But something I learned is that you really, a lot of times in life, you really have to ignore everyone and just believe. If you believe it's possible to get your body back, you will. And that's something I've learned from so many of the people that have recovered from situations like this. You have to believe. And if you give in to the cynicism, the darkness, and all this stuff, it's gonna destroy you. Before this trip, I really wanted to become a really, really, really good therapist. And I think the universe gave me what I was asking for. Because through this accident, I came to understand so much. I understand pain. I understand what it means to not have control. I know what it means for people to betray you, like your own friends. I understand what it means for the police to really not take you seriously, or the driver didn't take responsibility. I understand what it means for your dreams to get crushed. I understood what it meant for people to take advantage of you, for you to lose so much. I think that's given me a chance to have really deep empathy. Because at this point, like, who can I not relate to? I can relate to everyone. Really, it's taught me that perception is everything. Pain is through perception. Happiness is through perception. And for people that have been in accidents like this, it's very easy for them to get hooked on painkillers because they're in so much pain. And the entire time, I just kept any painkiller I did not need to take, I did not take. And I've been constantly trying to fight off the dark thoughts. I try to remind myself that, yeah, this could be the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and I can just give in to the darkness and all like the bad thoughts I have. Or I can force this to be the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I'm really trying to fight those negative thoughts by staying positive and trying to remind myself, like, this was really good for me. I learned so much. I have a story that no one else can really rival. This is unbelievable. I don't even believe it happened. This was so crazy. It was so crazy. I literally went around the world. When I came to Japan, one of the things I really wanted was to become a stronger person. I wanted to become more resilient, stronger, more independent. And through this accident, so many people failed me. The embassy, the police, my insurance company, a lot of my friends failed me. And what it taught me is that the only person I really need to be there for me is myself. And when you're in situations like this, you become the person that you need. And fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. When I started to deal with all these problems, I realized that I was a lot stronger than I gave myself credit for. I just kept pushing along. Like, when you go through a problem like this, you think there's no way you're gonna get out of it. But when you start dealing with it, you realize that you're a lot stronger than you thought you were. And I think I achieved one of the goals of the trip. I became so much more resilient. It forced me to become resilient. Like, what else am I gonna do? Just die out there? Like, I have to survive. I have to think of something. So it forced me to evolve and become a much stronger person. Now there's really not much that scares me. I mean, I went through like one of the worst things that could have happened on this trip. I was literally talking about how this was one of my biggest fears before the accident happened. So talk about wild. This accident also taught me that the universe is conscious. Like, it was so crazy. So many things about this story are so wild. Like, for example, I got hit literally 1 second before I would have died. If I had just come 1 second earlier, he would have killed me. If I had just been a little bit further away, I would have just been completely saved. But I got hit at the exact right angle where I didn't die, but I got heavily injured. And what injuries did I have? Right hand, right shoulder, left ankle, right knee. The worst injuries for a boxer. What are the odds of that? Like, that's so crazy. The fact that this happened in the 6-week period where I didn't have health insurance is so wild. The fact that this happened right before Golden Week, so I couldn't get medical attention in Japan, is so wild. My aunt and my friend, they also told me they both had dreams that an accident happened to me like a day or two before it happened, which is also really creepy. A year before the accident, I was in the Philippines visiting a few friends I made online, and they're giving me a tour of their city. And they showed me a bazaar, and in the bazaar, there's a guy, he's a fortune teller. And, you know, I don't really believe any of this stuff. I'm like, let's go do it for fun. So we go there, he reads my fortune, and he looks at my palm, he reads a few cards, and he tells me 2 things. And one of them was that I'll get into an accident in about a year, in a car accident in about a year, which is really weird because about a year and like a week later, I got into that accident. So probably a coincidence, but so many things in the story are just so wild. But yeah, the reward for pain is wisdom and understanding, and I'm so grateful I went through this. Sure, I lost a lot of money, and I went through a lot of pain, but I became so much smarter. I became so much richer as a person. And honestly, if I had to go back in time and prevent this from happening, honestly, I wouldn't do that, because I have an experience that really forced me to evolve and change, and I'm really grateful for that. And I think one day I will become a great therapist. Thank you guys for everything, and thank you guys for watching. I have a new video that I've been working on for about 4 months. It's gonna come out soon, so I'm excited to see what you guys have to say about that. And really thank you guys for all the support during the accident, and so many of you guys messaged me. I cannot thank you guys enough for that. But yeah, more videos soon to come, and maybe one day we'll bike across Japan and actually finish the series. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I will see you guys soon.